So very good morning to all. Today we are going to talk mainly the energy conservation. I think this particular topic was I did not talk about after Bernoulli equation when I discussed about Bernoulli equation. I think probably in class number 8 or 9. But again, I think this is the right time to discuss about some energy conservations, which mainly happens when there is some work related to some pumping works or turbine related work. So we'll go through this and discuss about the aspects of how different mechanisms of energy conservations, which is very critical for any mechanical work. So let us first examine what is energy equation is. Actually, energy cannot be destroyed, or it actually changes its form from one types of energy to another types of energy. According to the first law of thermodynamics, it either cannot be created or destroyed. Like as you can see, a stone falling from top, which has a potential energy almost 10 kilojoule. If it comes down to the ground, the potential energy decreases, or after a certain distance is traversed, the potential energy converted into kinetic energy. The total energy remains constant. Okay. So, I mean, this is the basic concept for energy conservation. So, how it is affected or how it is related to the mechanical work associated with fluid flow or fluid dynamics. So, if you remember, I think I just mentioned when there is a like steady state flow, we discussed about we have a closed system. So, what happens then is the fluid enters through one inlet and then goes out from the other, that is called outlet. So the same concept can be applied for energy, where energy have an input and then energy can have an output in various forms. That can be either in the mechanical world, that can be in terms of heat dissipations. So the total energy change is given by E in minus E out, that is by delta E. That is the amount of energy which has energy, the difference in the energy amount of energy which has occurred into the system. So energy content of a fixed quantity of mass, if it is a closed system, as I said, can be changed by two different mechanisms, either through heat transfer and work transfer. Heat transfer is given by capital Q and work transfer is given by capital W. Okay, so the conservation energy for a fixed quantity can be given by Q dot net in, W dot net in. What is Q dot? Actually, it's the rate of change of heat transfer, and this is W dot is the rate of change of work transfer. That is nothing but power. Okay, rate of change of work is nothing but a power. As you can see, Q dot net in is given. So a dot comes because this is the change. It's a rate with time. The amount of heat transfer happening with time. So that's why that Q dot, the dot signs comes here. Okay. So the Q dot net in is actually Q dot in minus Q dot out, which is nothing but the net rate of heat transfer to the system. It can be negative or positive. If it is it's coming to the system, it's been you apply the heat to the system, then it's a positive, and if heat being dissipated from the system, it is negative. So that is the convention. So accordingly, it can be positive or negative. So that is total amount of total amount of energy which has been associated with the system is given by Q dot net in plus W dot net in equal to dE system by dt. What is dE system by dt? It is coming here. dE system by dt is the rate of change of the total energy content of the system. Similarly, W dot net in is nothing but W dot in minus W dot out is the net power input. As I said, that energy change with time is actually power. So W dot in minus W dot out is the net power input to the system in all forms. So you can see here is a mechanical shaft work being done. Okay, so that is the work being done to the system. That's why it's positive. And then you have given some heat to the heat energy to the system, that is 15 kilojoule and 6 kilojoule. The total energy change will be 15 minus 3 plus 6. Minus 3 because the amount of heat which is dissipated out of the system, that is negative. The total delta E will be 18 kilojoule. As I said, the Dover dot stands for time rate. Okay, because if you have any question why the dot comes, it is due to the stand for time rate. Now, for simple compressible system, total energy consists of what are the different types of energy? It can be internal energy, kinetic, and potential energy, right? And it's expressed on a unit mass basis, that is U plus KE plus P. U is the internal energy, KE is the kinetic energy, and P is the potential energy. So that is given by V square by 2 plus GG. U plus V square by 2 plus GG. So here V square by 2 is the change in the potential energy, and GZ is the change in the potential. V square by 2 is the change in kinetic energy, and GZ is the change in potential energy. That is the total amount of energy change in a compressible system, okay, compressible fluid system. So let us move to the next slide. So energy transfer by heat, the transfer of thermal energy actually from one system to another system is known as heat transfer, okay, that is happens due to the change in the temperature of the system, okay. There are different systems like isothermal system, adiabatic system. I think all of you know from your basic thermodynamics knowledge what is adiabatic system is. Adiabatic system is nothing but there should not be any heat transfer to the surrounding from the system, right? It can happen, the system is completely closed, okay, there is no heat transfer from inside to the outside, or it may happen that the temperature of the system and the surroundings are same, so there is no driving force for the temperature difference. An adiabatic process should not be confused with an isothermal process. I think isothermal process is actually like it happens at a certain particular temperature. Isothermal, okay. At any particular temperature, if there is any kind of energy transfer happen to the system, that is known as isothermal system, okay. Let's look into the energy transfer by work. Energy interaction is work if it is associated with a force acting through a distance, like a piston work, a shaft work, okay. These are all kinds of works being done to the system, right? The time rate of work is actually nothing but power, which is given by W dot. As I said, that time rate of it work is nothing but power. Car engine, like hydraulic, steam, gas turbines, all are actually produces work, okay. Whereas compressor, pumps, fan, these are all are actually a mixer. These are actually consume works, okay, because it actually consume electricity. So work consuming device, what happens? The work which are being consumed by the device are in rather transfer the energy to the fluid. Like if you are using some sort of like fan, the fan actually consumes electricity and then it's the blades rotates and actually it's mobilizes the air, which increases the kinetic energy. So these are actually all this produces work, whereas car engine, hydraulic engine, steam engine, all are actually this actually produces work, and compressor, pumps, fan consume works, and then it's convert that the work which has been consumed to the some sort of another energy, that is in kinetic energy or potential energy. I think you all know the basic concept of work. So let us look into the system which are involved numerous type of work, like the total change of the work is given by W total. It can be shaft work, pressure work, viscous work, other work. Shaft work is the work transmitted by a rotating shaft. Pressure is the work done by the pressure force, okay. The viscous work is the work done by the normal and shear component of viscous force. Similarly, the other work, it can be electric, magnetic, surface tension, all kinds of other works, okay. Now, viscous works is very small related to other term, it can be neglected, okay. So this is the first, I think, energy analysis, energy conservation analysis. As you can see here, I have a fixed control volume. There are two inlet. There are two insist. One is inlet, another is the outlet. So through inlet, the work is being done, or the amount of work which is being carried out, and then and two is the outlet through which amount of work which is being dissipated to the system. The total net change in the work will be Q net in plus W shaft net in. Okay, Q dot net in is the amount of heat transfer which is happening, the net amount of heat transfer, that should be inlet minus outlet. Similarly, net amount of shaft work is be inlet minus outlet. It is given by this formula, m dot times h plus v square by 2 plus zz. Because what is the h plus v square by 2 zz? That is the amount of work being done to the system, the kinetic energy, potential energy, and this is the enthalpy change. Okay. And similarly, here also the inlet, kinetic energy, potential energy, enthalpy change. It states that the net rate of energy transfer to a control volume by heat and work transfer during steady state flow is equal to the difference between the outgoing and incoming energy flow. Now, m dot is the mass flow rate. Here you can see that m dot is given. This is the mass flow rate. For unit mass, you can divide both sides by m dot. Then it becomes unit mass. Okay. Let us look into this. Now, for many practical systems, it just involves one inlet and outlet, and the mass flow rate, which is m dot, for a single stream device is remain constant. So that if you remember, I have given separately m dot for inlet and outlet. If it is same for inlet for system, then it can be coupled together, and then the total change in heat transfer rate and the shaft work is given by m dot h2 minus h1 v2 square minus v1 square by 2 plus z times z2 minus z1. Why that 1 and 2 are coming? The 1 and 2 are coming for the inlet and outlet respectively. Okay, the subscript 1 for inlet and 2 for outlet. So if you divide both sides by m dot, which is nothing but mass flow rate, then the amount of heat flow rate will change to q dot q netting. Now it is the amount of heat change, okay, not amount of heat rate. The total amount of heat change plus total amount of work for the shaft is equal to h2 minus 1, h1 plus v2 square minus v1 square by 2 plus z2 minus z1. Now definition of enthalpy, I think I mentioned enthalpy is nothing but internal energy and the flow energy, which is given by U plus P by rho. And then rearranging the term, the steady state flow equation can also be expressed that if we rearrange this term, W shaft netting, and then you take this H2 is equal to nothing but U2 plus P2 by rho 1. That P2 by rho 1 remains here, and P1 minus P2 come this side. This H has been transferred, okay, H2, U2 plus P2 plus rho 2, and H1, P1 plus P1 by rho 1. So that terms has been rearranged, and then it become like this, okay. Now here, this is actually this U2 minus U1 minus Q dot in. We'll come to that. It's actually mechanical energy loss. So remember this equation. This is very important equation. Now if you go back to the next slide, as you can see, we have rearranged this term, okay. So W shaft net in and P1 plus P1 by rho 1 plus V1 square by 2 plus Z by Z1 actually mechanical energy input. That is the total amount of mechanical energy which has been, that what is the input energy. And then the other is the P2 plus P2 by rho 2 plus V2 square by 2 plus Z2 is the mechanical energy output. That is the output energy. And this term within the parenthesis is actually the mechanical energy loss. I think I have already mentioned U is the internal energy, P by rho is the flow energy, V2 square by 2 is the kinetic energy, and ZZ is the potential energy of the fluid. All per unit mass, because we have divided by unit mass m dot. This relationship are valid for both. Now this is a very unique equation. This is actually applicable both for compressible and incompressible fluid. Now, if the flow is ideal with no irreversibility such as frictional effect, then total mechanical energy must be conserved. What actually it says that if there is no loss in energy, okay, or there is no such thing called mechanical energy friction factors, then these two terms, the input and output, will cancel to each other, and it will become for ideal flow there no mechanical energy. So this will become the mechanical energy. These two are zero, so it will become Q net in will become U2 minus Q1. Okay, Q net will become U2 minus E1. So that is that amount of heat energy change is nothing but the difference of the internal energy. Okay, U2 minus E1 is the difference in the internal energy. Let's look into this again. So U2 minus E1 minus Q19 is actually represent, I said, mechanical energy loss. For single phase fluid, we have internal energy change, you know, Cv into T, or Cv is the specific heat at constant volume, is into T2 minus T1, temperature change. Now, for a steady state flow, the energy equation on a unit mass basis can be written conveniently. So what is that? So E mechanical in, because if you remember this is actually mechanical energy input and this is mechanical energy output. So we can replace that E mechanical input plus E mechanical output per E mechanical loss. Okay, just we are representing this equation. Okay, we are considering this E mechanical in, mechanical energy input plus mechanical energy output per mechanical energy loss. You can see this equation has been written here. The E mechanical in is nothing but the whole term. Mechanical output, E mechanical output is this term, and E mechanical loss is this U2 minus U1 plus Q0. Actually, this is the equation is same, only representations are different. Okay. Now, W shaft net in, that I think I mentioned here, that is the shaft work, the net energy change in the shaft work. It actually the amount of work done during inlet and then amount of work which is distributed to outlet. That is the shaft work. That is W shaft in minus W shaft out, which is nothing but shaft work actually is being done through pump and the output is through turbine. So this inlet shaft work can be given by W pump and outlet can be given by W turbine. So then these equations can be written like this form: U1 plus rho 1 plus V1 square by 2. Same terms are there. They're only changing the W shaft netting by these two terminology. Okay. So the pump comes this side and the turbine goes right hand side. Remaining parts remain same. Okay. Now W pump is the mechanical work input due to the presence of a pump, fan, compression. Generally is given by pump, but actually it can be any other means by which work has been done. And turbine, W turbine is also the mechanical work output. That can be any other output term. It can be hydraulic, it can be steam engine. But general convention is to given by W turbine. Okay. Now, if we multiply this above energy equation, the red one, by the mass flow rate, that is m dot, then this equation will become this within parentheses, and the pump power will become W dot pump. Okay, that is the power output for the pump. And this is the power output for the turbine. Okay, and this will become the energy, mechanical energy loss. Same thing. Initially, we have divided by m dot. Now we are again multiplying by m dot. That is the mass flow rate. So this equation become like this. This equation become like this. And what is the term? W dot pump is the shaft power input through the pump shaft. Similarly, W dot turbine is the shaft power output through the turbine shaft. And E dot mechanical loss is the total mechanical power loss, which consists of pump and turbine loss, as well as the frictional loss in the piping work. So the equation here, what will it become? It will become mechanical E mechanical loss is equal to E mechanical loss is this one. E mechanical loss is this one. We are rearranging. That is E mechanical loss pump, E mechanical loss turbine, and E mechanical loss piping. Because mechanical loss of the power loss can be due to the pump power, due to the turbine loss, and as well as the frictional loss. Now the energy equation can be expressed in the most common form in terms of head. Now if you divide it by it, G, this equation, this equation if you divide it by G, okay, so it will become P1 by rho 1 G, V1 square by 2G plus Z1, H pump U, P2 by rho G, P2 by rho 2 by G, V2 square by 2G plus Z2 plus H turbine E plus HL. So we are actually dividing this equation by G. We'll see this term, okay, H pump, H turbine, and HL. So H pump is nothing but W pump by G. W pump by G. You see W pump by G because you are dividing by G, or it can be W dot pump by G. Right, same thing, W dot pump by G. But W dot pump we have initially divided by mass flow rate. So that is why it's called W pump by G or W dot pump by M dot G. Now there is some sort of energy, the efficiency of the pump is not 100%. That's why it has been efficiency, that is something sometimes that eta pump is the efficiency of the pump is been multiplied, because always the pump which are being done, which has been pump work which are being performed, it is not working with 100% efficiency, right? So that's why that eta pump has to be multiplied. Is the useful head delivered to the fluid by the pump. So H pump is the useful head which is delivered to the fluid by the pump. Similarly, H turbine is the output, turbine output, energy output, which is given by W turbine by G, W dot turbine by Mg, but pump output is also not 100%, so you have to divide by turbine energy, which is the output energy, okay, is the extracted head removed from the fluid by the turbine. So HL is the mechanical energy loss, which is nothing but E mechanical loss by G, and E dot mechanical loss by Mg. Is the reversible head loss between 1 and 2 due to all components of the piping system other than pump or turbine. So this is actually the representation, pictorial representation of all the like theoretical part we have discussed right now. Here head loss is the HL. Okay, this is HL. This is the input energy. This is the pump input. This is the output energy, and this is the turbine output, power output for the turbine. Okay, so these are all terminology has been integrated here. You can see the pump input is given by H pump. The turbine output is given by H turbine or W dot turbine, you can say. The mechanical fluid energy input energy P1 plus rho G plus V1 square by 2G plus Z1, and output energy P2 by rho G plus V2 square by 2G plus Z2. Mechanical fluid output. And then the head loss, which is given by mechanical energy loss given by H. So this is the in an engine, in a system, if there are a lot of other different types of energy being associated with it, the total pictorial representation should be like this. Here HL is represent the frictional loss associated with the fluid flow in piping, and it does not include the losses that occur within the pump or turbine due to the inefficiency of this device. These losses are taken into account by eta pump or eta turbine. I think I already mentioned eta pump or eta turbine, okay, because there is some sort of loss or the efficiency is less than 1. Now energy generation of steady state flow. The pump head is 0 if the piping system does not involve a pump or a fan or a compressor. And also turbine head is 0 if the system does not involve a turbine. Also the head loss can sometimes be ignored, okay, when the frictional loss in the piping system are negligible. So in a special case for incompressible fluid with no mechanical work and negligible friction, all this term can be cancelled and it's become like P1 plus actually P by rho g P2 square by 2g plus z. That is nothing but Bernoulli's equation. So you see, actually we so far all this talked about is nothing but Bernoulli's equation, but we have taken into consideration many factors which are in real life associated with it. Okay, for any system, the Bernoulli's equation is a very simplified form of energy equation. Okay, but in reality, there are other factors which are associated with it, like heat transfer, work, energy being dissipated from the system, pump work, turbine work. That's why all this terminology comes into picture. If you neglect or if you cancel all this term, then ultimately it becomes to the original Bernoulli equation. Okay, so this is actually all this thing actually Bernoulli equation, because if you know, remember, this is actually P1 plus by rho g V2 square by 2g plus Z1. But here, this is actually nothing but the Bernoulli equation. We have added all this term. Okay, H pump, H turbine, HL. Okay, because we are considering that the heat is happening to a real system. Kinetic energy correction factor. We did not talk about this so far. There is a kinetic energy correction factor because any fluid stream obtained by the formula V2 square by 2 is not same at the actual kinetic energy of the fluid stream. Is the square of the sum is not equal to the sum of the square. The error can be corrected by replacing a factor which is given by alpha. Alpha is called kinetic energy factor. Alpha is 2 for fully developed laminar flow, and it is between 1.04 to 1.11 or close to 1 for turbulent flow. Since in reality most of the fluids are in turbulent in nature, so we actually consider it is multiplied by 1, right? So 1.04 is close to 1. Okay, so that's why we generally consider it is V2 square by 2g. You don't take into consideration the alpha. But for a fully developed flow, that alpha has to be 2. So the final form, if you take into consideration the kinetic energy factor, it becomes like this: m dot p1 by rho plus alpha 1 v1 square. Alpha 1, see here alpha 1 comes for the kinetic energy factor. Okay, and then if you divide it by m dot, it's on g, that is become like this. Okay, this is same equation we have talked about. Only thing here alpha 1 and alpha 2 are exist. Okay, so let's. I think there are a couple of numerical. I'll discuss 1 and 2, and then remaining you can go through the slides or you can solve it. I'll send you the slides. You can solve 2 numericals. Okay. So let's say a steam turbine generator unit used to produce electricity. Assume the steam enters a turbine with a velocity of 30 meters per second and enthalpy H1 is given 3348 kilojoule per kg. All the parameters are given. Okay, it's a steam turbine. The steam leaves the turbine as a mixture of vapor and liquid having a velocity of 60 meters per second and an enthalpy of 2550 kilojoule per kg. The flow through the turbine is adiabatic. So adiabatic means no heat lost to the surrounding, and changes in elevation are negligible. So Z1 and Z2 can be cancelled. Okay. Determine the work output involved per unit mass of steady state flow or steady through flow. So all the parameters are given at section 1, V1, H1 given. Shaft work, it has asked to calculate shaft work. Section 2, V2 and H2 are given. Okay. So let's see how we approach this problem. Z2 and Z1 are negligible because elevation change negligible, you can cancel. Adiabatic flow, so Q dot net change will also be 0. Okay. So the equation is this, if you know, m dot H2 minus H1, V2 square minus V1 by 2, Z2 minus Z1, Q dot netting, W sharp dot netting. This is the original energy. Now these two terms become 0. The work output per unit mass of steam through flow, that is W sharp netting, can be obtained by dividing equation 1 by mass flow rate. But it has asked to calculate per unit mass. We divided by mass flow rate. So this equation becomes W dot shafting by m dot H2 minus H1 plus V2 square minus V1 square by 2. Now W shaft net output is equal to minus W shaft netting. We obtain W shaft net output. Now because input is 0, okay. So our input is equal to minus of output. So this output become negative. This term become negative. So this actually change. Okay, H1 minus H2, V1 square minus V2 square. So it will be, you know, H1 and H2 given, V1 and V2 also given. You solve it, and it becomes 797 kilojoule per kg. Okay. Look into another problem, pumping power and frictional heating in a pump problem. The pump of a water distribution system is powered by a 15 kilowatt electric motor whose efficiency is 90%. The water flow rate through the pump is given 50 liters per second. The diameter of the inlet and outlet pipes are the same, and the elevation difference across the pump is negligible. If the pressure at the inlet and outlet of the pump are measured to be 100 kilopascal and 300 kilopascal absolute pressure respectively, determine the mechanical efficiency of the pump and the temperature rise of water as it flows through the pump due to the mechanical efficiency. So let's see what are the parameters given. Okay, the inlet pressure given, outlet pressure given, flow rate given. Okay, and it is calculated. It is asked to calculate the mechanical efficiency of the pump. It is operating 90%. Is motor 15 kilowatt electric motor is efficiency 90% is given. Okay, the motor efficiency is given 90%. Okay, so let's see how you operate this problem. So what are the assumptions? With the assumptions as the flow is steady and incompressible, through the pump is driven by an external motor, so that the heat generated by the motor is dissipated to the atmosphere. The elevation difference between the inlet and outlet of the pump is negligible, so Z1 and Z2 get cancelled. The inlet and outlet diameter are the same, and thus, if the inlet and outlet diameters are the same, then the inlet and outlet velocity and kinetic energy correction factor are equal. So V1, V2 equal to alpha 1, alpha 2. We take the density of water 1000 kg per meter cube, and the precipitate of water is required 4.818 kilojoule per kg degrees. The mass flow rate is given by volumetric flow rate into density. Okay, it will become 50 kg per second. The motor draws 50 kilowatt of power and it's 90% efficiency. So the mechanical power, that is the shaft power input, is actually 90% of 50. Okay. Now what is the formula for mechanical energy fluid? Is mechanical output minus mechanical input. M dot P2 by rho plus alpha 2 V2 square by 2 plus ZZ2 plus minus M dot P1 by rho alpha 1 V1 square 2 by Z2. Now you have to determine the mechanical efficiency, that is mechanical output minus mechanical input. Simplifying it for the case and substituting a given value, mechanical fluid will be M dot, because all this term will get cancelled, V2, V1, Z2, Z1. Ultimately it becomes M dot P2 minus P1 by rho. M dot is given by 50 kg per second, I think already have seen. P2, I think it's given 300 and P1 100. Density of water, you know. So it is become 10 kilowatt, right? What is the efficiency? Pump efficiency will be input minus input divided by output, right? Input is 10 kilo, required power is input 10 kilowatt and output was 13.5. So it is actually become 74.1%. So this side, up to this I'll stop. And I'll give you two numerical